Welcome back. I'm cutting straight across to the ongoing war, escalation, either way that you call it, Iran, Israel at loggerheads. Let me take you through the latest. A terrifying night in Tehran. Massive explosions have rocked the Chitgar area with unverified footage at this point showing fiery blasts near Chitgar Lake, long suspected by some to conceal underground military facilities. Here we're looking at Tehran being bombarded by Israel. Chitgar, Tehran, I'm going to repeat, is said to be an area to conceal underground military facilities. And that's precisely the target. Iran currently under attack by Israel. There's been no official word yet from Iranian authorities on the casualties or the extent of damage there in Tehran particularly. Speculation, of course, running high. As we see here, Israel has reportedly struck Iran's state television in the big brazen attack. Here's a quick look. Mid-broadcast, Israel's attack strikes at an Iranian television network's office. Viewers watched in shock as the studio caught fire while anchors were live on air. Iranian journalists themselves posted videos from inside the chaos. There you have it. While the anchor was anchoring mid-air on live TV, Israel strikes straight at that TV network station. And you have fire that's seen right behind the anchor while she was anchoring live. Live on air, the fire catches behind and she was rushed out of her seat. There you have it. Well, I'm going to tell you yet again, no confirmation from Tehran on this attack, but these are visuals that have been put out by Iran itself. Journalists there putting out these videos and footage showing Israel's attack on Iran's news television channel's office. A live TV broadcast that was underway was stopped midway with Israeli attack. In fact, the Israeli attack hit straight at that TV network's headquarters. And you saw the anchor, while she was anchoring live on TV, had to run for safety. No confirmation from Tehran on this attack, but I will mention that journalists from Iran have put out these videos. The world, of course, watching very closely as tensions now only escalating within the region. Tehran reels from one of the most visible attacks in recent history. As we know, Iran, of course, has attacked parts of Israel, killing 18 people in Israel. It was Israel who began the attack while first targeting nuclear facilities in Iran, just going back to a few days ago. And now it appears after Iran retaliated, Israel has come back heavy and hard, continues to bombard Iran on multiple levels. In fact, here you have, in the latest, a news office in Iran, while news live coverage was underway, an attack that struck the news television's headquarters. The anchor was forced to run for safety. This conflict only now thickening. In fact, Israel strikes a military base in Tehran as well. These are visuals and images that are coming to light. As we see here, live images, and this is just from a little while ago, images there showing how areas of Tehran have been bombarded by Israeli attacks. Strikes that continue unabated. A barrage of missiles that have been struck at Tehran in Iran, and that particularly revisiting that very video there where that anchor is anchoring live on air. She's clearly talking about the Israeli attacks, while one happens right behind her at that studio. There you have it. She had to literally stand up and run for cover. That's a live anchoring that was stopped midway in Iran. Now, these are multiple attacks that are being reported, not just on the TV headquarters there, but we know that Iran's oil fields have been targeted. Apart from that, of course, the nuclear scientists who were killed, the nuclear bases where they were developing the nuclear weapon, we hear is now being fully down to rubble. Let me quickly bring in our guests joining us. Itai Meshior, former executive, Israeli National Security Council, joining us live from Haifa. Thank you very much. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, who's a defense and geopolitical expert. Appreciate both of you for taking your time. Itai, a quick take on the video that I see on our screens here of a news anchor, news television anchoring that was stopped midway. You had the anchor run for cover and safety. Is that Israel's strike? Would you confirm that? Sir, could you unmute yourself?
Yes, sorry. Israel warned in advance that they were going to target this station, which was inciting against Israel.
Right.
They gave a warning to civilians, even in the region, to evacuate so they won't become in harm's way. So certainly this is something that Israel did and announced beforehand it will do.
You are confirming here, I'm taking this as an official confirmation, you are confirming that this was a planned attack on that TV station in Iran. You believe that that TV network was constantly unleashing anti-Israeli propaganda?
Yeah, this is a government TV station.
Government-run
It's not
TV,
a
all
private
right.
entity. It's a government-run, and the government has put itself at war with Israel. And therefore, I'm not the official spokesperson for the government, but as we can add that 2 + 2 is 4, since Israel warned in that region it will attack, and it even warned that the propaganda will have to stop and the incitement, and therefore we can assume that it was not some kind of random other enemy of Iran who bombed this TV station.
Would you be able to tell us, Itai, a quick word from you on the areas in Iran that Israel has targeted? Iran calls this arbitrary attacks. They claim that this is a way to incite the country while they were only building a nuclear weapon for their own safety. Where and why has Israel continued to bombard 4 days and counting?
4 days and counting, and we'll probably see another couple of weeks continuing. Iran cannot come and roll their eyes now and claim they were building it for their own safety, as they've for the last 10 years been saying that they've built it to annihilate Israel, calling Israel the little devil and the US the big devil. So they cannot come and claim now that this is something that has nothing to do with Israel. Israel has been attacking specifically programs and targets which have to do with 2 or 3 different things in Iran. One is the nuclear program itself and scientists, as you said in the beginning, who are leading this program. And the other one is the ICBM, the intercontinental missile program that Iran was building, those missiles which can threaten not only Israel but much further away, Europe and even beyond. Of course, India is also in the range. And nobody in the world, and you can see the G7 just came out with a statement claiming Israel had full right to attack and that Iran should have long ago stopped, as it had committed to stop their nuclear program. So those are the main targets being hit, and any other targets which were assisting both military bases, IRGC bases, and high-ranking officials, and those are the targets that have been hit.
You know, Itai, I really request you to stay with us. As for Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, a quick look as to, for our viewers, as to why Iran and Israel are at war. Many questions being raised as to why both countries are, Itai.
Itai, yes.
Yeah, Lieutenant Rameshwar, just a moment, I will come back to you, but to give a little context to those watching, why are Iran and Israel at war? Both see each other as a serious threat. Israel believes Iran is secretly building nuclear weapons. Iran says its program is peaceful, but it's also openly called for the end of Israel since the time the Islamic Revolution happened. This fight has been building on for years through attacks and spies and proxy wars. Now it's turned into a direct war, as we see right here. In fact, on Friday, Israel launched airstrikes on Iran's top military and nuclear sites, including the Natanz uranium plant. Iran hit back right the next day, firing missiles at Israeli cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa. So far, 230 people have died on Iranian side and 18 have died on the Israel soil. The UN says Israel did major damage to Iran's nuclear program. Israel claims Iran already has enough uranium to build 9 bombs, and which is why their fear that if Iran comes up with that kind of nuclear ammunition, it could only mean threat that will perennially loom over Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says that he struck first to stop this disaster that could happen in the future, calling it a lesson that he's learned from history. He says, "Never again is now." That's exactly his quote. This is the first time that Israel has openly declared war on Iran. And now Iran says it might walk out of the global nuclear agreement if at all this war continues. Pakistan, meanwhile, has stepped in, warning it will attack Israel if it uses nuclear weapons on Iran. That message was said by an Iranian military officer on national TV on Iran. The US, on its part, says it has no stake in this strike. In fact, it knew about these strikes but has no role to play in it. Clearly, America at this point wanting to play the peacemaker, but at the same time heavily siding with Israel. In fact, they've also pumped up Israel in every possible way at this point. Trump says there is a real risk of this war going bigger. We've got to sit down to see if both countries can come to peace. But at the same time, we see US heavily hinged on the side of Israel. This war risks setting the entire region now on fire, and with global oil prices, of course, shooting up, we see that the missiles continue to fly, so does the market panic. West Asia's unrest could soon hit fuel costs and economies worldwide. Now let me bring in Lieutenant General Rameshwar. Sir, we're looking at a state-run television in Iran that's been bombarded by Israel, and Israel seems to be attacking unabated and confidently. It seems like Israel, for the first time, has opened war with Iran, and defiantly, confidently.
Yeah. Who is being addressed?
Yes, to you, sir.
Nabila?
Yeah. Where's the conviction from Israel coming from?
It's for your guest from Israel, is it?
No, sir, it's for you. It's for you.
Oh, all right. Now, you see, what has happened is that this particular escalation, it was just being expected the way the events were moving. Your viewers are aware that for last about 20 months, Israel has been struggling to degrade the ground-based assets of Iran, that is your Hezbollah's, Hamas, Houthis, and other assets which are based in Iraq and Syria. But after having degraded them, the next step was to degrade the air defense system of Iran itself, which Israel did very successfully. And thereafter, he went in for those simultaneous attacks. When I say simultaneous, means 13th of June, that was Friday. They started their attacks not only with their these bombings, they also had the ground-based assets. That means the we call it those loitering munition UAVs, which were armed, and they were targeted at very specific targets, and thereby they were able to eliminate the chief of the army, the chief of the Revolutionary Guards, and some of these nuclear scientists also. So when we look at the way the Israel had planned this entire operation over the years of, I would say, not only those 20 months, but even much beyond that, they have gone about it in a very, very systematic manner. And therefore, it was expected that they would be causing huge amount of damage to the Iran, not only their capability of building these nuclear assets as well as the ballistic missiles for the future. They would also be causing damage to various other assets in a manner that if at all it happens, it could well lead to regime change. And more so, we now only thing that is required to be watched now is as to when Iran is able to start these retaliatory moves, because time and again what we are hearing is that if by mistake or otherwise Iran hits at any of the US targets in this area, which is about 8 to 9 countries have got the US assets, and if that is hit, then US is also expected to join in for attacking on Iran, and that will be a huge escalation. But prior to that, even now, what is coming up in the news and being heard from various quarters, that already this kind of a conflict is going to cause energy crisis world over. More so if Iran starts blocking these Strait of Hormuz, where they got out of 8 islands, they control 7 of those islands. So therefore, the implication that are going to have are world over, and not only for this region, and that is the thing to be watched.
Well, Israel has been warning the world that the stronger that Iran grows, the more of a threat it is for us. And they've learned their lessons since the Holocaust. So they're sticking by a trend and what they always have said. It's not surprising what's coming from Israel at this point. But why now? If I could bring in the guest from Israel itself, Itai, why now, right in time, when we're looking at Israel completely eliminating Hamas on every level and every rank? You all have now completely shifted target to Iran. Of course, many would ask, where's the confidence coming from? You all are still hurt, bruised and bleeding from what happened just a year ago. Why now?
Why now is a very good question. There are 2 answers for that. One is, according to intelligence, and this is accepted by other Western intelligence authorities, the Iranians are very, very close to completing and being able to build a few bombs. As you said earlier, they said it's for peaceful purposes, but nobody enriches uranium to these levels for peaceful purposes. You don't need such high enriched uranium for electricity or for medicine. And they had obtained the relevant parts to weaponize. So they had the enriched uranium, they're very close to the highest level of enriched uranium. They had the components to weaponize. They have their ICBM missile program ready to launch. And the feeling was, if it's not now, it may be too late, because once they did have a weaponized nuclear missile, then it will change the entire region. So one reason is it was absolute time. The second reason you actually alluded to. Remember that Iran, which Israel had no beef with until 1977, when the Ayatollahs came to power, we're actually very good friends until then, because we don't share a border, we don't have a dispute over resources. Iran had built a ring of fire around Israel. From the north, Hezbollah. From the south, Hamas. And then further away, the Houthis in Yemen. All of them proxies working on the orders of Iran, who also had a stronghold in Syria and Iraq. And this is no longer there, which makes it much easier. Had Israel tried to strike Iran in a preemptive strike like it did, when Hezbollah was just a year and a half ago, with the full power that it had then, things would have looked very much different in Israel. So one is, this was absolutely the time to do it. And 2, it was now possible to do it. Also remember, as the general mentioned, during the last round of exchange of fire between Israel and Iran, Israel had already started dealing with Iran's air defense systems, and therefore it was easier for Israel to strike now. That was, again, also the first strikes were also aimed at finishing off this missile and allowing freedom of operation.
Itai, you'd say that your resources are not stretched at this point?
They certainly are stretched, but as Hezbollah is no longer a threat, as the Syrian border is peaceful, still war going on with Gaza, the Houthis from Yemen still firing missiles occasionally, but this was really not a question of convenience. According to some sources, this was actually planned to take place a few months ago. Things that changed. I think also some pressure from the Americans that believed that they could talk the Iranians into a new nuclear deal, which will have them give up the uranium. Remember, Trump gave them a 60-day ultimatum to finish this negotiation. Those 60 days finished on Friday when Israel attacked. Right. And therefore, I think that really it wasn't a question of do we have the resources. It was the question we have to do it now. And again,
I have a last question. Itai. Unfortunately, I'm very short on time, but I still would like to ask you, while Israel says that you are strategically targeting military bases and nuclear bases of Iran, you want to cripple their nuclear power, then why target a TV network where you have people there working, doing their duty? It's a government-run network, but you have people there only doing their duty, serving as reporters, as journalists, targeting and striking at a TV news network station. Do you believe is fair?
Well, I was not in the room making that decision. I personally may have voted different if I was asked, and I for sure understand your compassion with your comrades in trade. But again, remember, there was a forewarning. This station has been used to spread incitement. And remember that something that Israel and the US hope for, but I doubt will happen, is a regime change in Iran. And this can only come from within. I think that one of the ideas behind this attack may have been also to have the Iranian people who are not getting the full information of what's going on because media in Iran is censored. And I think that this was a way to show the Iranian people to understand the weakness and maybe signal to some of the internal forces that if they want to act against the regime, now will be the right time. Again, maybe not the best way to send a message, but I do understand where it came from.
Well, let's hope the war subsides. The India stance is clear that the solutions can't be brought out of war. But thank you very much, Itai and Lieutenant General Rameshwar. I apologize, sir, for not giving you more time. We're very terribly short on time at this point, but thank you.